What do you want to achieve in your life? Each of you have different goals that you put out there, whether it's a physical goal and you want to lose 40 pounds, whether it's starting a new side hustle, you work 40 hours a week, but you really feel like you could do this, part-time and make some extra money. Maybe it's you being a better mother or a better father. Maybe it's writing a book. Whatever it is, for most of us, we think that we need to set specific and actionable goals. But do goals really get accomplished? What is the percentage of how goals work in your life? And really, if we really think about it, and I'm taking a lot of this information from James Clear, and I encourage you to look him up. You can, if you just type in, it's as simple as James Clear, Clear. He writes a ton of blog posts. He's written books, New York Times bestsellers, and he gets into this pretty heavily. And he talks about getting things done and making progress. And it's getting things done and making progress, he says, that are important to you. So what he wants to talk about, and I think we need to talk about, is the difference between goals and a system. So what's the difference between goals and a system? Well, and he goes into, trying to describe this. If you're a writer, your goal is to write a book. That's the goal. But the system is following a writing schedule and being consistent and disciplined, even if you don't feel like it, to write. And to write daily or write, multiple times a week, and do that till the book's done or until the article's done. He talks about if you want to run a marathon, you have a system of training. You cannot run a marathon if you don't train. You'll end up injuring yourself or hurting yourself, something like that. There has to be training. You have to put in the miles. He talks about building a business. What's your system for building that business? What's your sales system? What's your marketing system? What's your finance system? What's your ROI? What's your key performance indicators? Getting these systems built and in place will allow you to be able to day in and day out get things done. And that's what makes a goal possible. And he asked a really interesting question, and I want to ask you guys this, and I want you to contemplate on this, and I'm going to say it twice. If you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your system, would you still get results? Let me say this again. If you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your system, would you still get results? And he uses an example as a basketball coach. If you were going for a championship, what if you focused on the team completing a training system day in and day out, focused on that system in and of itself, and did not focus on the championship at all? I think you would. I think a lot of times, and we see in successful businesses, especially franchises, systems are everything. If you go to McDonald's, it's all systems. How can you get high school kids to be productive? Well, McDonald's figured it out. The military's figured it out. A lot of people have figured this out. Chick-fil-A, they figured it out. They're extremely profitable, and it's because the systems, they keep tweaking systems, build the system, tweak it, build the system, tweak it, build the system, tweak it. And I kind of want to get into, before we get into this article, I want to kind of go off the article a little bit and talk about system building. When we have an unrealistic goal and then we want to build a system for that, we build an unrealistic system. You're not going to write 8 hours a day. That's unrealistic. Some of you may be able to, but majority of people are not going to write 8 hours a day to get a book done. They may write an hour a day, 45 minutes a day. You may go to the gym 3 times a week, but you're not going to go 7 days a week. You're not going to do cardio every other day and weightlifting the other days. One, your body couldn't handle that in the beginning. And 2, it's unrealistic. And I think that's where we get really motivated, and motivation's a scary word. I don't like motivation because it comes and goes with emotion. It's fleeting. You can go to a conference, get super motivated, and then 2 weeks later, you're feeling depressed. So motivation is nothing. Now discipline to follow through on your realistic systems. You know, if it's 2023, so if I'm going to sit there and say, hey, I'm going to work out the complete year. That's what I did. I said, well, I can go 3 times a week, and I'm getting a trainer to hold me accountable. And the trainer, I have to give him 24 to 48 hour notice if I want to cancel. If I don't, then he charges me the full amount for that. And that was an accountability thing because it makes me go, whether I feel like it or don't. But this is an amazing part. Jocko Willing talks about this. When you get done working out, 100% of the time, you feel better. The outcome is more energy, feeling better, better emotions, better leader, better clarity, better partner, wife, husband, whatever it may be. The outcome is always better. And the long-term effects create excellence physically. And to me, if you can get the physical part down, the mental and emotional, all of that, you can start working on that self-awareness. But the physical, to me, is the easiest thing that you can do right now that will cause you to be able to build a system out. It's pretty simple. Maybe you're so busy you can only go to the gym twice a week. That's fine. That's better than not going at all. If you went twice a week for 52 weeks, that's a lot of gym sessions. You're going to see a change. I think 3 times, 4 times a week is really good. Or if you can go for walking is so underrated. Walk, guys. It's that simple. Walk out your front door and walk around, or go to a track and walk around. If you could walk every single day, you know how a lot of people, when they want to train, like bodybuilders, fitness competitors, you know what they do to cut? Yeah, they lower their calories, but they walk. They do a ton of 45 minutes or longer a day. They do a ton of walking. You can listen to this podcast or other podcasts while you're walking. It's extremely simple to do. It's not hard. Get your heart rate up just a little bit. Maybe you can't walk but a quarter of a mile. Consistently walk the quarter of a mile every single day. Build the system out. From 8 to 9 a.m., I'm going to walk. From 1 to 2 in the afternoon, I'm going to walk. I have the clothes ready. It's cold. It's rainy. I don't care. My commitment is to walk. They have apps for that you can track your consistency, all of that. They have habit apps where you can get into that. You can set alarms. Set alarm for that time on your iPhone and name it. Whatever you want to name that alarm, set it. You can have multiple alarms to remind you of different things that you need to do, whether it's drinking water, whatever it may be. Realistic systems is the key to you changing your life. I have built out 2023, so I have built out systems for physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. Because those are the things that I need to work on in my life. Physical, I'm doing great. Last 2 years, I've gone to the gym consistently. I have a trainer. Everything's going great physical. On a 1 to 10, I say I'm at an 8. Physical, the only thing I need to do is probably tweak my diet a little bit. I cheat a lot. I love sweets. I love cereal. But I've even dialed that in. I reduced down to 1% milk, organic milk. I have granola. I put a little bit of honey in it instead of the Frosted Flakes or whatever it was. So, I've made better choices. Those are realistic to me. I crave cereal sometimes at night. So I'm going to eat organic granola with a little bit of honey in it and 1% organic milk. And some of you may say that's absolutely horrific. Well, guess what? That is a better choice and a more realistic choice to what I want to do. I meal prep. I just meal prepped yesterday. I have all my meals all ready to go, all weighed out. I don't have to weigh it out anymore because I've weighed it so much. I kind of have an idea of where I need to be in my meals. And so I was 50 pounds overweight. Now I'm probably in 2 years. Now I'm probably perfectly fine. I mean, I want to like tweak my body. Now I've gotten to the point to where it's like, oh, this little bit, I want to do this and this. But what's crazy is my weight has stayed the same. I've gained 40 pounds of muscle. My weight has stayed the same. My waist has gotten way smaller. And my arms and chest and back has gotten bigger, all because I made a commitment to go 3 times a week and invest money in a trainer and have him hold me accountable. And I needed that, and I've done it consistently for 2 years. So physical, I'm good. Emotional, just becoming more self-aware, being able to recognize, oh, that's not real. Affirmation, that's not real. That's not a real thought. Jason, that's not a real thought. You're assuming something. You're judging something. You're being fearful right now. So it's just catching those quicker, those negative, the ants is what you call them, a negative thought. And then, spiritually, just continue to work on my spiritual podcasts that I've had. We've had for 2 years now. And Alexander McCaig and I do that podcast. It's called Higher Density Living. I encourage you to subscribe to it. It's called Higher Density Living. And we talk about all things spiritual. We talk about mystic Islam, Judaism, Christianity. We get into the universe. We get into God. We get into, gone through the Bible, all different kinds of things. If you're open-minded, this is a great podcast for you to subscribe to. But that studying on that podcast and being consistent with that podcast has helped me out tremendously spiritually. So I just need to continue to study, need to continue to do that. And I'm growing spiritually. I feel like I'm growing spiritually every year. So that's awesome. I'm at an 8 spiritually. Mentally, emotionally, I'm probably at, I can't use 7. I always tell myself, can't use 7. You got to do 6 or 8. So I'd say I'm at a 6. So that I need to work on a little bit more this year. So building systems out, which I've done for that, to be more grateful and remind myself to pause and be grateful and do it daily. Just these little tweaks, guys. Some of the things that you need to do, you don't think are that big of a deal, but consistently, it's compound interest. Taking 5 minutes a day to be grateful and name all the grateful things you did for 365 days in a year, you're a different person at the end of the year for those 5 minutes. If you set an alarm on your phone and you consistently did that every single day, at the end of the year, you would be a totally different person just off of having gratitude and that compound interest on that energy going out into the universe, that positive energy. How would you be around people? If you're feeling grateful, what is that vibration going to be like? How are you going to interact with those that you serve? As a leader, if you're grateful, how are you going to be? See, you have to look at these things and be realistic and find the small things that you know you can consistently do. And when you get off track, move on. Okay, I forgot to do this yesterday. Today I'm recommitting and I'm going to do it today. Don't beat yourself up. Don't play the guilt. That's your ego wanting comfort. It doesn't want discipline. Your ego hates discipline. It wants you to be reactive and just hang out and do the worst. But your ego will kill you, literally. Your ego wants you to eat chips all the time, sit at home, not work, watch Netflix, but no one's happy. The ego will not make you happy at all. The ego doesn't understand. It's like a super happy dog that doesn't understand anything, has a 1-year-old mentality. It doesn't know. It has no idea. It's just, dogs will eat till they throw up. That's kind of how your ego is. It wants comfort to the point of you getting depressed because you're just way too comfortable. So ignore your goals, focus only on systems, and I guarantee you'll get results. And James Clear talks about this. He said every day not every day. I want to make sure I clarify this. He needed to write he wanted to write an article. And so he's like Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever he would write. He ended up writing 115,000 words. The typical book is 50 to 60,000 words. By him just committing to write, he ended up writing 2 books. The goal wasn't, to write 2 books. The goal was every Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm going to write. You see how that happened? It's just that day in and day out, discipline and dedication to a realistic goal, creating systems for that. Next thing you know, you have 115,000 words written. Focus on the system. Focus on doing the work. And then give yourself credit for the results. Look back, and this week I did great. This week I just review it. Review it daily, review it weekly, whatever's comfortable for you. Maybe on Sundays when you have a cup of coffee, sit down and review. Review the week. Physically, I was probably a 5 this week. I kind of cheated on some meals. I didn't go to the gym this time or this. Emotionally, I did great. Spiritually, I did this every day. I prayed, I meditated, I read, a chapter a day in a spiritual book, doing great. I was at a 9 spiritually. Give yourself some credit. Well, that's a good job, Jason. That's a great job what you did this week. We don't give ourselves credit. We seek credit from other people externally, but we're not willing to give ourselves credit internally. And I'm going to do a whole podcast on that because I think it's really important how excited we get when somebody else gives us credit, but then how we won't give ourselves credit and how we don't get excited on that. And I'm going to get into 3 reasons on the next podcast why you should focus on systems instead of goals. So guys, let's get ready. Let's get these realistic systems in place. Let's work on this and let's be a better you in 2023.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share. And go to abqpodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.